Hey, quick question. When you sat down for breakfast this morning, did you realize you were eating a weapon? Or maybe a currency? Or the very reason entire empires rose and fell? We think of history as a series of great wars, powerful kings, and massive inventions. But if you look closer, the real driver of human civilization hasn't always been the sword. It's been the stomach. Today, we're looking at 10 foods that actually changed the course of human history. And the best part? You probably have most of them in your kitchen right now. First up, we have to talk about the one thing you probably use every day: salt. Today, salt is so cheap, we literally throw it on icy roads. But for most of human history, it was known as white gold. Before refrigeration, salt was the only way to keep food from rotting. If you didn't have salt, you didn't have food for the winter. This made salt a geopolitical powerhouse. The Roman Empire actually paid its soldiers in salt, which is where we get the word salary. Entire cities, like Venice and Salzburg, were built on the wealth of the salt trade. In ancient China, the salt tax funded the construction of the Great Wall. Salt sparked the French Revolution and was a key factor in the American Civil War. When you think about it, we didn't just build civilizations near salt. We built them because of it. Next up is the humble potato. It's hard to imagine, but before the 1500s, there wasn't a single potato in all of Europe. When Spanish explorers brought this weird tuber back from the Andes Mountains in South America, Europeans were actually terrified of it. They thought it caused leprosy because it grew underground. But once they realized 1 acre of potatoes could feed 3 times as many people as an acre of wheat, everything changed. The potato ended the cycle of famine in Europe. It allowed the population to explode, providing the massive workforce needed for the Industrial Revolution. Essentially, the modern Western world was fueled by the potato. But here's the wild part. This total dependence on one crop also led to one of history's greatest tragedies, the Irish potato famine. It's a perfect example of how food can build a nation up and tear it down just as fast. Coming in at number 3 is black pepper. If you go back to the Middle Ages, black pepper was so valuable that a single pound could buy a person's freedom from serfdom. It was used to pay rent and even taxes. Why? Because it only grew in one place, the Malabar coast of India. The desire to bypass the expensive land routes to get to those peppercorns is what actually kicked off the Age of Discovery. When Christopher Columbus set sail in 1492, he wasn't looking for a new continent. He was looking for a shortcut to the pepper. The modern map of the world exists because Europe was obsessed with seasoning its dinner. Now, we've talked about sugar before on this channel, but you can't tell the story of history without it. Sugar shifted the entire economic center of the planet. It was the oil of the 18th century, but it came with a devastating human cost. The massive demand for sugar in Europe is what drove the transatlantic slave trade and the plantation system in the Caribbean. It transformed the human diet from one based on complex grains to one centered on quick calories. It funded empires and sparked the great fat lie we see in modern nutrition. Sugar is the perfect example of how a luxury can become a necessity that reshapes the ethics of the entire world. We're only halfway through, and some of these foods that are coming up next actually decided the fate of the American Revolution and the birth of modern science. So subscribe now and stick around for more. Number 5 is corn, or maize. Without corn, there would be no Maya, no Aztec, and no Inca empires. It was the only crop in the world that could be grown almost anywhere and stored for years. But corn's influence didn't stop in ancient times. Today, corn is the most produced grain in the world. It's in our fuel, our plastic, our soda, and our meat. We are quite literally corn people. If corn disappeared tomorrow, the global food system wouldn't just stumble, it would vanish. Next, we have tea. Think about how many wars have been fought over a leaf. The British Empire was practically fueled by tea. When the American colonists got tired of being taxed on it, they threw it into Boston Harbor, sparking the American Revolution. But it goes darker. To pay for all that tea, the British started selling opium to China, leading to the Opium Wars, which reshaped the history of Asia for over 100 years. Tea is proof that even the most cozy drink can have a razor-sharp edge. While tea was building empires, coffee was building minds. Before coffee became popular in Europe in the 1600s, people mostly drank beer and wine, even for breakfast, because the water wasn't safe. Basically, everyone was slightly drunk all the time. Then came coffee. Suddenly, people were alert, energized, and gathered in coffee houses to talk about politics and science. Historians call this the Age of Enlightenment. Coffee replaced the depressant of alcohol with a stimulant, and the modern intellectual world was born in a coffee cup. We can't forget wheat. Before wheat, humans were hunters and collectors. We moved where the animals moved. But wheat required us to stay in one place. It forced us to invent irrigation, writing, to keep track of the grain, and laws. Wheat didn't just give us bread, it gave us the concept of home and government. We didn't domesticate wheat. Wheat domesticated us. Number 9 is chocolate. To the Aztecs, cacao beans were so valuable, they were used as actual currency. You could buy a turkey for 100 beans or a forest rabbit for 10. When it reached Europe, it was a high society luxury that eventually became the world's favorite comfort food. But like sugar, its history is tied to complex trade routes and labor issues that still continue today. It's a food that proves humans will go to the ends of the earth for a bit of sweetness. Finally, we have the pineapple. Wait, the pineapple? Really? In the 1700s, a single pineapple was worth thousands of dollars in today's money. They were so rare and expensive that people would actually rent them for parties just to put them on the table as a centerpiece to show how rich they were. You didn't eat it, you just let it sit there and look expensive. This is why you see pineapples carved into the bedposts and doorways of old colonial homes. It was the original flex. It's a reminder that food isn't just about calories. It's about how we want the world to see us. It's wild when you think about it, isn't it? The salt on your fries, the coffee in your mug, the potato on your plate. They're all survivors that changed the course of history. They've built empires, started wars, and changed the way we think. Which of these 10 surprised you the most? And is there a food I missed that you think changed the world? Let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.